Let me tell you guys about the biggest plot twist ever in Tensura. We were released a week early the epilogue for volume 23, and let me say that this is only the beginning and we have seen some of the wildest revelations yet. I'm going to recap everything that happened to you guys so you are updated with the story and caught up. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can come back for more, like this video, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section once you are done watching the video and what are your predictions for the rest of the volume. Now let's get into the story. The story begins from Feldway's point of view, just after being completely dismantled by Diablo. His body still aching and unstable from being turned into dust, but he manages to retreat to the Heavenly Star Palace. Even in this state, he convinces himself that he can recover, regroup, and ultimately return stronger. He clings to the idea that he now understands Diablo's technique, that learning Yuki's teleportation style combat puts him at an advantage, and that Rimuru returning from beyond the end of space and time was simply an absurd fluke. In other words, Feldway is trying to rebuild his confidence even as the first cracks begin forming under the surface. When he approaches the throne room hoping to rest and plan his next move, he instead finds Dino lounging lazily on the throne and Pico and Gracia relaxing nearby. They were supposed to be conquering Ramidis' labyrinth, but their early return means something catastrophic happened. Feldway asks whether they ran away because Vega lost, but Dino tells him the situation is far worse. Vega has indeed been defeated, but Zalanis, the ancient insect demon king, Feldway thought as one of his most reliable forces, has also been taken down. The most shocking part is who did it. Zalanis was defeated not by Diablo but by Zegion. Feldway realizes he underestimated Rimuru's followers to a dangerous degree. Zegion, a monster Feldway barely considered relevant, has risen to a level even Dino described as traumatic. It's Feldway's first moment of genuine fear that Tempest's power structure has evolved far beyond anything he anticipated. Before Feldway can digest this, Dino asks him about something even more serious. The Holy Relics stored in the sealed chamber, the remains of Veldanava and Lucia. Dino reports that the relics are gone. Feldway, refusing to believe him, rushes to the underground sanctum only to find the entrance blown apart and the Ark of the Covenant shattered. The chamber's barrier wasn't even broken from the outside, it was destroyed from within, which immediately narrows the suspects to two possibilities: Veldanava waking up himself or Ivarage consuming the remains. The latter is horrifying, but the former is far worse for Feldway personally. Lucia's remains are irreplaceable. Unlike Veldanava, she cannot regenerate from nothing. Feldway instantly understands that he might face Veldanava's wrath for failing to protect Lucia. This possibility shakes his core far more deeply than Diablo's victory did. It is at this point that Dino, Pico, and Gracia reveal something that destroys any remaining illusion of authority Feldway thought he had. The divine influence that allowed Feldway to forcibly control them has weakened or collapsed entirely. They're no longer under his command and no longer interested in supporting his plan. They call him out for manipulating them without consent, for dragging them into his personal goal and obsession, and for steering the world into destruction for reasons that never actually made sense. It even comes to the point that the three of them completely ignore Feldway's presence and start talking amongst each other that Rimuru is back and maybe they can actually join him again. Their departure is not angry or dramatic, they simply just walk away, declaring the partnership over. Dino even tells Feldway that his eyes are clouded and that he has lost sight of whatever purpose he once had. I was honestly impressed at the way that Dino was standing up to Feldway and talking to him, almost as if trying to get him to see reason. When they leave, Feldway is left alone, stripped of allies, purpose, and even the fantasy that he still acted under Veldanava's approval. It's the moment everything he believed in starts to collapse inward. The scene shifts back to a larger battlefield where Luminous Valentine analyzes the dire situation with the cold pragmatism she's known for. Through telepathy, she speaks to soldiers across multiple fronts, telling them plainly that survival is unlikely but that their lives have value precisely because they are defending humanity's final stand. Her words ignite a harsh but effective determination across the army. The battlefield has split into four major fronts, each dealing with a different cryptid mythical beast species pouring out of the alternate world Ivarage opened. On the northern front, Lewis, Gunther, Adaman, Gadra, and Mai face Habataki, a species of dimension-facing birds whose attacks can bypass all normal defenses. Even surviving initial encounters with them is extraordinary. Mai's presence gives the northern army a fighting chance, offering a tactical foothold in an otherwise impossible battle. To the west, Shion battles the Kakashi, void-sprinting beasts capable of emerging from the gaps between dimensions. The creature's impossible movement pattern forced Shion, Saire, and Gregory into constant motion. Saire, under crushing stress, maintains the holy field purification barrier that keeps the battlefield from collapsing entirely under contamination. If he falters, the western line falls immediately. To the south, Ultima deals with the Swim, astrofish that swim among the stars, implying that they operate using higher dimensionality physics. Ultima's overwhelming power allows her to dominate these cosmic creatures, and even Luminous is forced to admit that she is terrifyingly strong. Benimaru's reinforcements soon arrive, stabilizing the situation across several fronts. But the eastern front remains ominously quiet. Ivarage, the Destruction World Dragon, has done nothing yet. The silence itself becomes the most frightening element on the battlefield. Suddenly that silence breaks. Ivarage descends, but not in her original form. She now looks exactly like Lucia. Masayuki, the latent hero's memories react instantly, recognizing the face of the little sister he once knew in a previous era. This transformation proved that Ivarage has either absorbed Lucia's remains or inherited her records so deeply that she mirrors Lucia's form perfectly. The three beings serving Ivarage undergo their own horrifying evolutions, ascending to levels even Velgrind cannot properly identify. Meanwhile, Jaho's corpse begins to twitch unnaturally on the battlefield, implying that even the dead are being drawn into Ivarage's influence. Above all this, an unseen consciousness mutters that his wife has returned and that his daughter will soon arrive. The implications are unmistakable. Veldanava, now revived, is observing the battlefield from afar. On another part of the battlefield, Velzard has lost control completely. After Carrera's Judgment Divine Destruction bullet shattered the entity possessing her body, this forced her true White Ice Dragon form into full release. The divine cold emanating from her is destroying everything it touches, bending light, structuring space, and overwhelming the protective magic barriers around them. Gi Crimson fights her in earnest, using the highest applications of nothingness to negate her infinite cold. Testarossa matches his nullification output, supporting him by erasing as much of Velzard's pressure as she can. Carrera continues fighting with her extreme firepower, though she admits that none of her normal attacks can reach. Velzard Rain drops from the edge of the battlefield, avoiding direct confrontation since she would be annihilated instantly. Together they hold the line just long enough for Rimuru to arrive. With Rimuru's arrival, the atmosphere completely changes immediately, and before we get into the thick of the battle, I need to point out that for the first time, Rimuru notices that Gabriel and Sofia are flirting, and it finally clicks that they might be in a relationship with each other. I don't know why Rimuru is upset that Gabriel has a girlfriend, but he thinks to himself that he has to question Gabriel later. I just thought that was a funny part that needed to be pointed out. Anyway, Rimuru takes it into the situation. Velzard raging uncontrollably, civilians still evacuating, Gi and Testarossa barely keeping the battlefield stable, and moves without hesitation. He expands into a massive shape, wraps Velzard completely, and suppresses her with Void Collapse, the evolved form of nothingness derived from Azathoth. Void Collapse nullifies Velzard's abilities entirely, absorbing not just her ice, but the fundamental energy supporting her rampage. Rimuru restrains her casually with a level of precision that even Gi cannot fully comprehend. For Gi, this is the moment he realizes Rimuru is no longer an entity whose strength can be measured conventionally. Rimuru has surpassed the boundaries Gi considered possible. With Velzard physically contained, Gi begins the most dangerous step, a spiritual dive into her soul. He shifts into his specialized female form to maximize precision and magical calculation, leaving his physical body defended by Diablo. Gi's astral form descends through countless layers of Velzard's mental barriers until he reaches her hardcore. There he finds her inner self, a young girl curled into herself, reflecting her vulnerability and the emotional walls she has maintained for centuries. Velzard unleashes her pent-up frustrations at Gi. Anger about her never being acknowledged, being forced into the role of responsible guardian, watching Gi act recklessly for eras, and never receiving a place beside him as an equal. Gi listens quietly, allowing every blow to land. She reveals that she never wanted to surpass him, but only wanted to stand at his side. She admits that she froze him earlier in the story because she feared at once that Veldanava would awaken, Gi would be purged immediately. This confession set the stage for the largest revelation yet. Velzard tells Gi that Veldanava has already been revived and has been awake far longer than anyone realized. His consciousness is different now. While his memories remain intact, his ego is no longer the same. He did not intend to stop Feldway's plan because he himself wants the world destroyed. His original ideas have twisted. He wishes to recreate the world from scratch and select only those he deems worthy to inhabit it. Velzard confirms that her authority, Gabriel, King of Patience, is directly tied to Veldanava, meaning he can track all her movements. Her only method of resisting him was by evolving her own authority, Leviathan, King of Jealousy, to conceal her true intentions. She believes that Rimuru may be capable of stabilizing her strength further, especially considering he has already helped Velgrind evolve. Gi instantly accepts that Veldanava is now their enemy and pledges his loyalty to Velzard instead. Gi decided to turn into his female form in order to calm down Velzard by having a spiritual connection with her inside her hardcore. Reason being was because his female body was more focused on magic manipulation, and he was was afraid if he was too rough on Velzard, he would destroy her core, making her reincarnate with a different ego or personality, and that was a risk he couldn't take. Once their emotional reconciliation is complete, they are now husband and wife, but not in the conventional way. Guy never really even declared his love for her. He just said, we have been together for so long that in human terms, we are now considered a couple, so we're just gonna be husband and wife from now on. Velzard regains her true form and returns to full consciousness. The rampage ends, the battlefield stabilizes. Guy collapses back into his physical form, his body being in the female sense. He loses consciousness and falls down to be embraced in Diablo's arms. I don't know how I feel about that. Rimuru maintains void collapse around Velzard until he is certain that her mind is fully restored. With Velzard now fully aligned with Rimuru and Guy, the armies across the world prepare for a final confrontation against Ivarage. And although no one on the battlefield realizes it yet, the true threat, the revived and altered Veldanava, observes everything from afar, waiting for the right moment to act. The stage is set for the final conflict in the light novel's world, and that brings us to an end of everything that is covered in the prologue for volume 23. This prologue set the foundation to the final conflict of the entire series, revealing the truth behind Feldway's collapse, Ivarage's evolution, Velzard's internal struggle, and the quiet reemergence of Veldanava, whose intentions have shifted in ways no one ever expected. With Velzard now stabilized, Guy recovering, and Rimuru demonstrating power far beyond the conventional limits of demon lords, the stage is shifting toward the decisive confrontation ahead. The world is being held together by threats, the factions are clearer than ever, and the true enemy is finally stepping out from behind the curtains. In the next part of the volume, we'll see how the armies respond, how the remaining true dragons position themselves, and how Tempest prepares for the moment Veldanava himself makes a move. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss the next deep dive. I'll continue covering volume 23 as more chapters become available. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.